Boxing Ego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. 1. Do you want to know 7 reasons why Canelo Alvarez defeats Gennady Golovkin September 16th? If so, stay tuned to this video. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, helping holding down the channel donations and the Patreon family. We are working. Now I'm back with my long-awaited 7 Reasons series. You guys know I'm the originator of the series, and if it didn't come from me, then I don't know what to tell you. Big fight September 16th, Canelo versus Triple G. A lot of people actually are split in this fight, and a lot of people for this fight particularly. Like, I didn't see many people reach out. I mean, some people said, hey, are you going to do one for Mayweather McGregor? But this is the fight. So I had to hit you guys off on the channel with this and give my thoughts and my insight, my fight predictions in the form of 7 reasons. Now, as I do with my 7 reasons, I'm going to put out this disclaimer. This is not against any of the fighters. I actually enjoy watching the fights of Golovkin and also Canelo. I am picking Canelo, as you guys see in the title, heard at the beginning. And I'm going to give in detail my 7 reasons why I think he will win. September 16th, may the best man win. I will, as always, like a lot of you guys are emotional, so you know you're going to close your channel if you're wrong. No. I was picking Golovkin last year, and I just started thinking, the more and more I started thinking of it, I started leaning towards Canelo. I'm going to outline why I switched to Canelo before the fight and why I'm sticking with it. And you got to be a man. You got to stand on something. So I'm not going to keep going back and forth. I've been picking Canelo really since the fight was announced and actually before that. And I'm going to tell you why. These are my personal reasons, not in any particular order. Without further ado, let's get into it. Reason number 1, Canelo's youth. Now, the thing that's interesting is anytime you have boxing, you have an old dog and a new dog, you know what I mean, someone who's younger. Canelo, to me, I really feel he's at a great place in his career. He's youthful, but he's not too young. You know what I mean? Golovkin is 35 years old, turned 35 this year. Obviously, that comes with a lot of experience. Golovkin has over 350 amateur fights. He has a lot of pro fights, and he's been kicking ass as a pro, right? He pretty much stopped all 23 of his last opponents, and until he got to Daniel Jacobs, the fight I covered. And Daniel Jacobs was just relentless that night, and he got knocked down, got right back up, and seemed to get better in that particular fight. But the reason I think youth will suit Canelo is just because the younger you are, there's certain things that I guess would benefit you. You know what I mean? Canelo, he looks to be in great shape, and I understand muscles don't win fights, things of that sort, but I think youth will play a part in this particular fight because, again, Canelo's he's young, but he's a young veteran, meaning even though he didn't have the amateur pedigree of a Golovkin, he turned pro in Mexico at age 15, and when you're fighting in Mexico, who knows how old your opponents are. You could be 15, but you might be fighting someone who's 17, 18, 19 years old, things like that. So Canelo, there was a learning curve, and that's why I think when he came over to the States, hooked up with Golden Boy, they kind of spoon-fed him. He was fighting a lot of smaller people, and you know what I mean, some names that were older, Carlos Baldomir, Shane Mosley, guys who were like 40, 41 years old, things like that. But I think he's youthful enough, but he's come a long way. Since the Mayweather loss, I think he's improved. Reason number 2, the 2013 sparring, right? And some of you guys are scratching your head. What do you mean by the 2013 sparring? Now, it's well documented that Canelo Alvarez was training, I think, for Ryan Rhodes, the Ryan Rhodes fight. This was a young Canelo, right? And that fight, there's different accounts of what happened, The Golovkin was I think I would say he's probably further along in his career. But whatever Canelo experienced in that was definitely a learning lesson, because he was probably 19 years old, right around there, 19 years old. And the thing that I've noticed with that sparring is, one, you spar with that. You know what Golovkin brings. Obviously, the glove size might vary, headgear and stuff like that. And there's even reports and accounts that Golovkin hurt Canelo to the body. But my thing is this: if, let's say, the body shot is true and Golovkin did hurt Canelo to the body, the thing I think about is this: even though the fight wasn't made last year, he still took the fight. So to me, that shows a budding confidence in Canelo. Because me personally, let's say I sparred someone in 2013 and I don't think I've developed, I don't think I've grown, and I know they're going to slaughter me, then why would you even take the fight? And let's be honest, what happened in Canelo's career last year, I mean, that was the most ridicule that I can remember him getting. You know what I mean? Some people, they ridiculed him, like, why are you fighting Amir Khan or Josesito Lopez? Those guys are too small, things like that. But it was nothing, I repeat, nothing in comparison to the pressure Abel Sanchez, Tom Loeffler, and Triple G put on 2016, calling out Canelo. Golovkin was like, hey, no, give me my belts. And then ultimately, Canelo and team, they did just that. And they gave Golovkin the belt, right? So, realistically speaking, I'm not speaking on behalf of a boxing fan, because I wanted to see the fight last year, me personally, right? I wanted to see the fight last year, and it didn't happen. But my point being is this: it didn't happen last year. You had a belt, and then you gave it up to Triple G. So it doesn't really, there's not much more ridicule you can get from that than that. You know what I mean? That's like a no-no in boxing. It's like, shame on you. Like, you had a belt and you just gave it up. You know what I mean? That's not, it's frowned upon in the world of boxing, right? So realistically, the way I look at it is, Canelo, if he really wanted to, if he just stalled out the fight longer, didn't fight him this year, it wouldn't be much more damaging than that. So to me, I think Canelo has taken this fight because even with the sparring, whatever, he sees something where he feels it's his time and he could beat Golovkin now. That's just really what I see. So I think the 2013 sparring is something that Canelo's probably learned from. And like I said, he didn't ultimately, the fans would have been pissed. Keep in mind, I'm not saying on behalf of an actual boxing fan. I'm saying the business side of things. You already vacated your belt and didn't fight him last year. So, I mean, what's another, if you didn't fight him in September, what's another couple of months? You know what I mean? So it would have looked bad because De La Hoya was on First Take and he was promising that Canelo would fight him. But I don't think it would have been any worse than when he vacated his belt. It just would have, people would have just been putting chickens and Triple G's on Canelo's page. But ultimately, I think Canelo feels something that he could beat Golovkin. You know what I mean? Even with the 2013 sparring. The other thing with the sparring to me is this. The way I look at it is Golovkin may have a false sense of confidence from that sparring, because from the accounts it looked like, first of all, I heard that sparring is sparring, and sparring is hard to gauge because not every sparring, like some people have a misconception that sparring is always what you see in movies, or let's say Showtime All Access, where you're in the Mayweather gym and doghouse rules and it's just like kill or be killed. Not every sparring is like that, right? So guys could have been working on things and different things like that. They could have multiple sparring partners, varying them in and out, rotations and stuff. So sparring. But I will say this, is Golovkin may have a false sense of security because he fought a very raw Canelo when he sparred him, because we've all seen Canelo develop over the years. And to me, that wouldn't be a good thing if Golovkin does in fact do that, because I think Canelo has grown exponentially since that time. I mean, look at it. Look who he was fighting. He sparred him when he was fighting Ryan Rhodes. So that's before Austin Trout, before the Floyd Mayweather loss, before the Erislandy Lara tough fight, before James Kirkland, before Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. I mean, that's many, many moons ago, right? So I think if anybody has grown and developed as a fighter, it's probably going to be Canelo. You know what I mean? He was the one that was a kid and was still, like I said earlier, the learning curve, still learning on the job. Golovkin, even at that time, still had the 350 amateur experience. Now, he didn't have the Daniel Jacobs fights or Kell Brook fights or whatever, but he still had pro level fights, and he had 350 plus amateurs or whatever his amateur record is. So to me, I think Canelo's probably the one that from that time has improved. And Canelo, whatever happened in that sparring, Canelo knows what happened because he lived it. And I think Canelo's probably confident that he can beat Golovkin. Because like I said, if you sparred a man and you know you can't beat him, and you haven't increased your skill set, your palate, then I don't even understand why you would take the fight. Like I said, why would you take it when you've already done the unthinkable in the minds of boxing fans, which is vacate your belt? You know what I mean? So I don't think Canelo absolutely had to take. I mean, he had to take the fight in the boxing fans' mind, but realistically, what's another year if he would have just waited another year? So obviously, I think he sees something even with that sparring. Number 3, Canelo is hard to beat on the scorecards, and I'm judging off his past fights. That's what we have to go off of. So if Golovkin doesn't go in there and do major damage, right? Like if it's a nip and tuck type of fight, like let's say Triple G versus Daniel Jacobs, then I really don't see Golovkin beating Canelo on the scorecards. Again, like if it's a Ward Kovalev 1 type of affair, I don't see Golovkin beating him on the scorecards. Canelo's the big star. This is a Golden Boy with the K2 promotion, but Golden Boy is at the helm of this. You know what I mean? I'm not saying there's like any corruption or whatever, but I just have seen in the past Canelo's very hard to beat on the scorecards. You look at the Amir Khan fight. Amir Khan, I thought was doing a damn good job, considering all things considered, with the move up and weight and stuff. And 2 of the 3 judges had him losing at the time of the stoppage. Obviously, it doesn't matter because he got knocked out with 1 punch. But when they read the judges' scorecards after the fact, 2 of the 3 judges had him losing. Like, I'm like, what fight were you guys watching? You know what I mean? You look at Levi Martinez's scorecard in the fight with Erislandy Lara. He had it 117 to 111. So I'm like, what fight were you watching? Because I thought Lara won by a round or 2. I know it was close, it was competitive. Canelo was doing some vicious body work, but I mean, anybody who viewed that fight, Erislandy Lara versus Canelo, 117, 111 for either guy, you don't really know shit about boxing. Mayweather versus Canelo. After the 3rd round, I literally seen Canelo do very little, right? You can blame whatever you want to blame, age or whatever, but bottom line is he didn't really do nothing for Mayweather. He couldn't really do nothing with Mayweather. CJ Ross's dumbass still scored it a draw for Canelo somehow and said it was a draw. Like that, I mean, it's not realistic. That's why she ended up retiring after that. So bottom line is, to me, and this is obviously my 7 reasons, to me, I think Canelo is very hard to beat on the scorecards because, like I said, if you're in a tough nitty gritty where you guys are both doing like crazy work, like the fight I just watched the other night on HBO, the El Gallo Estrada fight versus Carlos Cuadras. If it's like that type of fight, I see it going to Canelo, where even though Cuadras got knocked down once, both guys were doing good work. It is kind of dependent on what you like. So to me, I really think Golovkin has to do something major. He has to do something major. But if it's a tight fight where both guys have been hurt and it's just a rugged affair like that, I see it going to Canelo. In at number 4, defense, Triple G, lack of head movement. To me, Canelo easily has the better defense. Easily. Right? Canelo has slow feet, but he has upper body movement. And he's very fluid at that. And like I said earlier, Canelo to me has evolved as he was growing as a fighter and developing in the learning curve, he looked like he was at a certain stage. But my point is this is how I know what I'm saying is true in terms of the development. If you were to put, when Canelo was at 154, 155, if you were to put him in there with Alfonso Gomez, somebody he fought on a Mayweather undercard, if you were to put him, let's say after the James Kirkland fight, put Alfonso Gomez in there with this Canelo and see what happens. Canelo would destroy Alfonso Gomez, and that's no disrespect, that's my honest opinion, right? However, on that, I think it was Mayweather Victor Ortiz, or one of Mayweather, because I know they were building up Canelo. Golden Boy was working with Floyd Mayweather, so they were building up their star Canelo on Mayweather cards. Some of you guys don't know that because you're new to boxing. And he fought Alfonso Gomez on that, let's say, Victor Ortiz card with Mayweather or whatnot. And he was getting tagged. Canelo was getting tagged in there because he was still kind of fresh, still learning certain things. But I think his defense is a lot tighter. He was just kind of experimenting. Like I said, it's different when you're Lomachenko, Rigondeaux, Triple G, and you have 300, 400 amateur fights. It makes you well prepared. Canelo turned pro at 15 and has just actually more fights at this point. But at the time he fought Floyd Mayweather, he had one fight less, I think it was, than Floyd Mayweather. But the difference was Mayweather, who came out of the Olympics and got robbed in the Olympics, he has a way better resume to this day. But even when he fought Canelo, he had way more big names and like champions, former champions and stuff, and people with momentum than Canelo, because again, that learning curve. But Canelo has steadily been improving. His defense looks very sharp, a lot tighter. I made an edit on Instagram from the Cotto fight, and Cotto's somebody who had been stopping guys. He stopped Sergio Martinez, stopped Daniel Gill at a catch weight, things like that. Cotto was missing wildly if you go back and watch that fight. And Canelo being the bigger guy, Cotto was a lot smaller to me than Canelo, and he was still having trouble hitting Canelo. So that upper body movement, I think, is going to come into play. And I think Canelo's a smart fighter in the sense that he understands. He sparred Golovkin. Everybody could watch Golovkin and tell what he's good at. You know what I mean? And don't think for a minute, Oscar De La Hoya, he's a former fighter too. So you know Oscar De La Hoya's actually, he's probably not stepping on the Reynoso's toes, but I guarantee you he's giving pointers. Like Dante's Boxing Nation has a round table with De La Hoya, and he was breaking down Golovkin's whole style. He was like, Golovkin, he's strong, but I noticed he can't fight on the back foot. Things like that, which is absolutely true. If you get Golovkin, if you can somehow, and credit to Golovkin, it's very hard to do this. He tucks his chin well, he has good balance. It looks like he has a chin, has a beard, so it's hard to push him back. He's just physically strong. He has an offense, he has it in his mind what he wants to do, and he likes to dictate. But I really feel if you can push him back, that's going to be uncomfortable territory for him, right? But you have to be smart, and you have to come with the right game plan. So I think De La Hoya is probably feeding him pointers, obviously the Reynosos, and ultimately Canelo's defense to me is a lot better. Golovkin is definitely there to be hit, and to me, he doesn't like to be hit at all. You know what I mean? And I'll get to that a little bit later about him not liking to be hit. But overall, Golovkin lacks head movement, and I think that's a problem. His head is almost always in the center. Again, you can't, if you fight Golovkin scared, it's a wrap for you. Because guys like Mike Tyson, guys like Golovkin, they prey on that. Kovalev, I would say, would probably be another person like that. They know they're strong. So if you fight them a certain way and they feel the fear and your hesitation, then they're coming at you full throttle, right? Number 5, the body attack. Now, Canelo has an underrated body attack. Left hooks to the body, mixes it up to the body. I've even seen him do some Floyd Mayweather-esque moves in general, and like stab to the body, just little subtle stuff like that people don't see. And there's been a lot of questions about Golovkin's weight leading up to this. He came into camp heavy. It's an observation that I made when I first seen pictures of him. I can look, and through the eye test, I was able to tell that he was heavier than normal. And this was corroborated when they did the WBC 30-day weigh-in. And if you go back and look at the facts, Golovkin, for this Canelo fight in the 30-day weigh-in, right, he outweighed his previous, let's say 4 or 5 fights from Jacobs, Kell Brook, all those fights, Dominique Wade. He was coming in right about what he came in at his 7-day weigh-in, which was 164.4. That's how much he was weighing at his 30-day weigh-in. So for whatever reason, the game plan in his Canelo camp, he was heavier. And then if you look at him, to me, he looked a bit softer. Canelo is a vicious, very vicious body puncher. Watch the Josecito Lopez fight. You could say Josecito's not Golovkin. I'm well aware of that. They do different things, but trust me, a body attack is a body attack. You don't even have to be the most forceful person with good body attacks. Watch the Liam Smith fight. Liam Smith, despite, I'm not comparing Liam Smith to Golovkin because obviously Golovkin's better, hits harder and stuff like that, but the body attack was crippling Liam Smith, and he was a big guy. He was a bigger framed guy, bigger than Canelo was. And Canelo just has that crippling body attack. And that's one thing I would easily try to exploit, especially with Golovkin looking and appearing softer 30 days out and to begin this camp. He just didn't look like he was in the same shape. Some people attribute it to his age. Some people think maybe it's a strategy just to come in and gradually taper down and come in as heavy as possible, or program your body in as to make weight and then, you know what I mean, rehydrate. I don't know, but whatever I seen, it looked like that body attack would be a nice weapon for the Canelo arsenal in this particular fight. And Canelo, he's the type of, he's like a Corvette type of fighter. I like to call him like after cars. And what I mean by Corvette is once he gets going, he gets going. He has that 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. And once he starts unloading, then that's where it really becomes a problem. In at number 6, Canelo knows how to lose / he's been hurt. Now this is a different reason. Some people aren't going to understand, so let me break it down. I'm of the thinking that, especially early in your career, early lessons can go on to help a fighter. You look at Pacquiao, he took early lessons. I mean, he's been fighting all his life in the Philippines. He got knocked out by Rustico Torrecampo. You know what I mean? Guys who weren't really world beaters. But we seen what Pacquiao went on to do after that point. Sergio Martinez, he got knocked out by Antonio Margarito. Sergio was, I think, playing soccer, bicyclist in Argentina, started boxing at a late age, and when he met up with Margarito, he wasn't ready for that moment, and Margarito was more advanced, had been fighting in Mexico and coming up a lot longer, so Margarito knocked him out. But what did Sergio go on to do? Legendary shit. School up Kelly Pavlik, who was definitely a hard hitter, and beat the Matthew Macklins, the Darren Barkers, knock out Paul Williams after having a war with him in the first fight. In the rematch, he knocked him out cold, one punch, stuff like that. So I think Canelo, like I said earlier, him losing to Floyd has benefited him because it was still young. It was still at a young enough point where, like, let's say Chocolatito. Chocolatito has been fighting a while. He's only 30 years old, and he's considering retirement, they said, after his loss to Sor Rungvisai, his second back-to-back loss, right? So I think losses when they're later in your career are harder to bounce back from. You look at Robert Guerrero. Robert Guerrero is younger than Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather just fought at age 40 against Conor McGregor. Robert Guerrero is probably like 34 years old, and he just retired this year. Bradley just retired off the Pacquiao loss, the third fight loss. You know what I mean? So I think Canelo, he can use his early Mayweather loss. You were in there with TBE, you know what I mean, the best fighter of this generation, and I think he has used that, and he's used it in a positive way. He learned whatever he learned from the experience, and I think he's ultimately grown from that. Now, as far as he's been hurt before, the Jose Miguel Cotto fight, he got hurt, right? and he fell back into the ropes, which, I mean, if the ropes keep you up, technically it could be a knockdown. I don't think the ref ruled it a knockdown. I don't see those moments as a bad thing for a fighter who's coming up, because Canelo still pulled through and stopped Cotto's brother, Jose Miguel Cotto. You know what I mean? He lost to Mayweather, but he's bounced back, and he hasn't lost since that point. These are all good things. Like I said earlier, the Alfonso Gomez fight. Alfonso Gomez was tagging him, and I don't remember the whole fight, like round by round, who was winning. I don't know if Gomez might have been winning, to be honest, and then Canelo ended up stopping him. But all these little things, these learning curves and learning on the job, I think if ultimately they stack up, and then they going through it, to me, helps a fighter. I use this example on the live stream. I'm gonna tell you like this. This might be a little bit morbid, macabre, but if somebody like myself, there's been points in life where money was tight, going to school, and you know what I mean, you're just foolish with your money or whatever. Money is tight, but I've been in that situation before, so as a result, like, I'm not going to lose my mind when it happens to me. However, if there's somebody who comes from wealth and comes from a rich family, and then their parents cut them off, and they make the wrong investment, and the stock market crashes or anything like that, and they have to lose a lot of money, they lose assets, that their yacht gets repossessed and stuff like that. Sometimes people like that end up killing themselves, hanging themselves, spiraling downward, and drinking and stuff. Reason being is because they're not used to that. They're not used to being broke. They don't know how to survive when they don't have everything at their disposal. You know what I mean? So as far as a fighter, to me, I don't think it's a bad thing to go through those tough moments. Like Gervonta Tank Davis, he's 22 years old. His last fight with Fonseca, nobody's going to say it was his best performance, but he made it through the performance, and he ended up stopping that person. Anthony Joshua versus Vladimir Klitschko, right? Joshua hurt Klitschko, probably got a little bit greedy, knowing he had been stopping guys, Charles Martin. As soon as he hurt Charles Martin, he stopped him right after, right? As soon as he really hurt Dillian White, he stopped him right after. As soon as he hurt Eric Molina, I think in the first round, he stopped him after. Dominic Brazil was a little bit different. He was pretty tough. But them other guys, he stopped them pretty quick after he hurt them the first time, right? This is all facts. So he got a little bit greedy. Klitschko, being a game, tough veteran who was quote-unquote obsessed and in shape as hell and about Joshua's size, things like that, got back up and brought it to Joshua and ended up knocking him down, I think, the very next round, and it was a war. And then the ebb and flow started to shift towards Klitschko. So I'm bringing up these examples and these different fights because Joshua he had to re-energize his battery, and he took some rounds off, and Klitschko was doing good and winning those rounds. But in the end, he launched a nasty uppercut, hurt Klitschko, right? And he was able to get Klitschko out of there shortly after in that 11th round, I think it was. So those, to me, those moments, you need those moments as a fighter. Look at Deontay Wilder. He didn't really struggle with the Bermane Stiverne fight, but his first title defense against Eric Molina, he got rocked in that, but he came back to stop Molina. So those moments where you lose or come close to losing or don't look great, but then you still get it done, I think you can build from that. But people like Golovkin, that's just my opinion, people like Golovkin, I don't feel he's equipped to being in certain positions, right? He's not used to someone driving him back. He's not used to, like, the Daniel Jacobs fight, somebody who's weathering the storm and getting knocked down, and he doesn't knock him out a short time later. I was at the Dominique Wade fight. I covered that fight as media. Dominique Wade got dropped, I think, in the first round, and Golovkin finished him off in the second round, right? So to me, I think Canelo, the fact that he's been hurt, the fact that he's taken the L, the fact that he's had the tough Erislandy Lara fight, I feel like that prepares him, because that means you've been in the trenches. Canelo clearly has a better resume, but sometimes in a fight like this, I can't just all the way use resume, because a lot of the names he beat aren't the Golovkin caliber, they're not Golovkin size, stuff like that. So this fight, you have to break it down in more detail. But the fact that he's been hurt and that he's lost and stuff, I don't perceive those as bad things. I actually view it the opposite. Now, talking about Golovkin, Abel Sanchez and Golovkin have both been on record. There's videos you can find where they said Golovkin has never been knocked down or knocked out in the amateurs, and he's never been hurt. So to me, it sounds good. It sounds cool. But I personally don't view that as a good thing at all. Like, obviously, you're not trying to take a stoppage loss, so that's a good thing, right? But if you've never been hurt, that's something totally different. So again, I don't know if they're just saying that or whatever. Like, I get it, you've never been stopped or knocked down, but if you've never been hurt, that scares me when I hear fighters say that, because my question is this: what happens if someone you don't think can hurt you? I was at Ward Kovalev 1 and 2, and at the second Ward Kovalev fight, Kovalev, the whole build-up, said that Ward hits like a 15-year-old girl. Ward slaps with his punches. Ward can't hurt him. Ward was saying he's gonna try for a knockout. Kovalev like laughed at it, he gawked at it, like he thinks he's gonna knock me out, right? Kovalev, like a known bully in terms of his style. He could box though too, but I didn't like how Kovalev was acting. Like, you guys can make excuses and low blows and all this stuff, but Kovalev did not respond in the proper way that a game veteran who maybe has been hurt, i.e. like a Floyd Mayweather. Look at Floyd Mayweather when Shane Mosley rocked the hell out of him in round 2, and he hurt him twice in that round, right? And look at Floyd Mayweather. He stayed composed, reached out and grabbed and bear hugged Shane Mosley. So he knew what to do to survive. And actually he did good in that round, but you still have to score it like a 10-8 round, because he was visibly, clearly, badly hurt in that round. But he actually, some people might have even said it was a 10-9 round, because Floyd started rallying back in that same exact round. It was an oh shit moment, and he started rallying back. Meanwhile, you look at Kovalev versus Ward, he didn't expect Ward. He didn't think Ward could hit him. And to me, I mean, not that he couldn't hit him, he didn't think Ward could hurt him. And he didn't know what to do. He did not have the, you don't just lay your butt on the ropes while someone's like chucking away at you and not throwing punches. And he got hurt with a shot upstairs. So my thing is this: a lot of people keep saying this, like Canelo, he hasn't knocked out. First of all, triangle theories don't work in boxing at all. It just doesn't. You know what I'm saying? Because you could say Marquez knocked out Pacquiao. He flatlined him, knocked him out cold. But Floyd Mayweather didn't knock out Pacquiao cold. You know what I mean? He didn't even knock Pacquiao down. Marquez knocked Pacquiao down in that fourth fight and knocked him out. Yet when Floyd fought Marquez, he knocked down Marquez and dominated Marquez. So I don't really believe in triangle theories, because they don't really mean anything. You know what I mean? Similarly, you could say Tim Bradley beat Marquez pretty easily, but he couldn't beat Pacquiao. I didn't think he won any of the 3 fights. Meanwhile, Marquez arguably beat Pacquiao more than once, but he definitely beat him in the 4th fight. So all that triangle theories of, oh, Canelo couldn't knock out Cotto, or he didn't knock out punching bag Chavez, these are comments that I'm reading and stuff like that. I don't care none about none of that. You know what I'm saying? Because Ward didn't knock out Edwin Rodriguez, but he knocked out Kovalev. And most people would say that Kovalev is a better fighter at the time when Ward fought him. He was a champion. They would probably say he's the better fighter. So, I mean, styles make fights, timing makes fight. I mean, there's different variables. So, I don't care that Canelo didn't knock out Cotto and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Maybe he respected Cotto and he respected him too much. I don't know. Canelo, I don't think he's dumb. So I think he knows what's on the line for this particular Golovkin fight. This is not a fight that either guy is going to want to lose. But back to the whole point, the whole 6th reason is all this saying that Golovkin has never been hurt. That actually scares me more than it sounds cool or whatever to me, because somehow, some way, what if Canelo is able to hurt you? What if you think this man can't hurt you? Because I don't believe that. A lot of people are under this impression Canelo's moving up. He's not a true middleweight. He only had one fight with at 164.5 with Chavez Jr., but Chavez did nothing. All that's fine and dandy, and it's true. Like, he only has one fight at 164.5. Chavez Jr. didn't put up a good fight. He didn't get stopped or knocked down. But like I said, each fight is different, and that doesn't mean anything. Like I said, Pacquiao got knocked out by Rustico Toro Campo. Is there anyone that thinks Floyd Mayweather is a lesser fighter than Rustico Toro Campo? Yet Rustico was able to knock out Pacquiao, and Floyd wasn't. You know what I mean? Floyd dominated Marquez, and he knocked out Pacquiao, but Floyd didn't. So, I mean, you can't really gauge it off triangle theories. But my thing is this, again, I don't look at, I'm not hired by HBO and ESPN. I don't have these radical views. Like, I don't put these fighters up there in terms of they're invincible and nothing can stop them. I don't believe that. I don't feel that Golovkin is some cyborg and nothing can hurt him. You know what I mean? In fact, I thought Kell Brook was hurting him, right? I think Danny Jacobs hurt him. I just think he has a good poker face. But even if I'm wrong, even if none of these guys have hurt him, I don't look at that as being a benefit at all. I don't see that. I don't think that's a beneficial thing that you've never been hurt, because once again, just like Kovalev, a guy you didn't think could hurt you. You face bigger punchers most likely. Jean Pascal might have per capita more single shot power than Andre Ward, but it's about attrition. It's about the package. It's about how the shots are coming. It's about when you start to fatigue and still being hit with those shots. And Jean Pascal has no defense. You know what I mean? So Ward, it's just a totally different fight, because Ward used some movement in the second Kovalev fight. Then he stood his ground and he was giving you different looks. Jean Pascal is like the similar tone. So that might have favored Kovalev, where he was able to stop Pascal twice. But you trying to cut off the ring on Ward, who's elusive and a tighter defense, that might be burning up your energy. Plus, he's taking stands. So it's just you're getting broken down differently. You're fatiguing faster. You're not necessarily fatiguing faster with Pascal when Pascal is fighting in one mode with no defense. You know what I'm saying? So you got to incorporate all those things. So to me, whether it's true or false about Golovkin never being hurt, I don't see that as being a beneficial thing, because how are you going to act when you've never been hurt if for some reason you do get hurt? And like I said, I do believe Canelo can hurt Golovkin. He has nasty uppercuts, which we're going to talk about in the final reason. But I don't see Golovkin as being this inhumanoid. Mike Tyson, I've seen the best of Antonio Margarito, known for a granite chin, got hurt, right? Shane Mosley knocked him out. Brandon Rios, granite ass chin. What happened when he fought Tim Bradley? And that's what I was saying with the body shots. Tim Bradley's not even the biggest puncher at welterweight, not even close to it. And he was able to stop Brandon Rios, right? Andres Fonfara, he's not the most complete light heavyweight or the strongest. I think Joe Smith Jr. hits a lot harder than Andres Fonfara. Sullivan Barrera probably, Kovalev, Vodstick, right? But it was Fonfara who systematically broke down Chavez Jr., frustrated him, and pretty much made him quit, and he got the stoppage. So boxing, that's how boxing works to me. And I've just seen it time and time again. These guys who are supposed to be like Lucas Matisse, he's supposed to be the machine, right? He weathered Danny Garcia's best work, Zab Judah, Devin Alexander, John Molina, and the person that stopped him wasn't even the biggest puncher, Victor Postal. So, like I said, boxing is fickle like that. It's not all about just who's the biggest knockout puncher. It's also about game plan. Like I said, Victor Postal is not hitting as hard to me at 140 as Danny Garcia, as Zab Judah was, as John Molina, but those dudes didn't stop Lucas Matisse, and it was Postal's style that did. So styles make fight, and like I said, I think Canelo, just his developmental process since the Mayweather loss, he knows how to lose, he knows how it felt, and he probably doesn't want that feeling again. But beyond that, he's been hurt before, so I just feel like he'll probably know how to react a little bit different. And the seventh reason, and this is an easy one, is Canelo's hand speed and combination punching. And this is doesn't even need too much explanation. Canelo has crazy punch variation. He has deceptively fast hands, and like I said, he's that Corvette. Once he gets going, he starts ripping shots, upstairs, downstairs, upstairs, uppercut, and he gets creative, very creative with the shots, and that hand speed, that the punching in combinations, that body work, but also going upstairs. Like I said, if I'm Canelo, I'm targeting Golovkin's body work because we're not used to that. Danny Jacobs might have done some body work, but if you're fearful of a guy and you fight Golovkin, like I said, and don't stand your ground, then you're food. But if you fight him in a certain way, like Willie Monroe had some success, but he just didn't have the power to ultimately get Golovkin's respect. Curtis Stevens backed up Golovkin, but you have to keep doing that. You know what I'm saying? You have to keep doing it. And I think Canelo has the style of fight. He's a counterpuncher, but he has the level of aggression needed, the fast hands, a good defense. He has that style to drive Golovkin back. And if he starts doing that, then I really, again, Golovkin lacks head movement. His head is in the center, and you don't want to be there for all those shots, like the uppercuts and the body work. Like I said, I'd be trying to blast. I wouldn't even be headhunting Golovkin. I would be trying to blast his body if I were Canelo. You know what I mean? Or his team. That's what they should be telling him. Because, like I said, Golovkin looks like he has a very solid beard. Looks like he could take a shot upstairs. But can he take that in conjunction with somebody ripping to his body? He's 35. He's had wear and tear from the amateurs and all these training camps, all these pro fights, things like that. So I just think the combination punching, the hand speed of Canelo is dangerous because once he gets going. And another point is I'm judging by, like everyone keeps talking about the last two fights. You have to consider that Kell Brook had Golovkin's head bopping up, and he jumped immediately from welterweight. I understand he ate up, and he was like, oh, I'm a big middleweight, and he weighed more than Golovkin. But it doesn't. You can fool the scales, but you can't fool the fighter, because even though you ate up and the scales showing you weigh whatever you weigh, the weight is completely different. Like let's say you naturally weigh 170 pounds, right? And you go to fight Anthony Joshua, and then you train for, let's say, 6 months, and you bulk up and eat, so you're weighing 220 pounds. It's completely different if you're fighting Anthony Joshua, who weighs in at 252, 260. You know what I mean? He's going to be able to tell that you're a 175-pound guy and you bulked up. Like, even if you did good for a short period of time, over time, just what we've seen in the Brook fight, the Golovkin-Brook fight, is the size, the natural size, and the lack of acclimation shows up. You know what I mean? Because we never seen Kell Brook sustain that type of injury until he fought the much bigger, stronger guy. And then that's when he got it. And then, I mean, obviously he got an injury with Errol Spence, but I think a lot of that has to do, it's your skull we're talking about. You know what I mean? So if you have a fracture on one side, I think it would probably make the other side more susceptible. You know what I mean? And Errol Spence, with his style, is real aggressive and hard punching too. So I think it messed up his other eye. But you can't fool that. So some of those shots Kell Brook was landing on Golovkin, I don't know what you would do, because he's clearly bigger than Kell Brook, and Kell Brook was pretty big. He has more fights at 54 and 55, and he just fought at 164.5, which I think was a brilliant idea to fight, because again, people keep talking about what Chavez didn't do, and I get it. The fight sucked, and Chavez really put up a dud, but that shows me something. Canelo still took the fight. He didn't know what Chavez Jr. was going to do, and 100% that he would be so drained or anything like that, to the point where he wouldn't throw no fucking punches like what happened on fight night. So he was prepared to scrap with that man, and he did it at 164.5. He admits that he got tired at a spot but he kept it together. Chavez Jr. couldn't do anything. So obviously there's something that Chavez Jr. respected. Otherwise, he would have just walked him down and walked through everything Canelo was doing. So a lot of people say, oh, Canelo can't hurt Golovkin. Can he stop him? That remains to be seen. But I definitely think he can hurt him. And I do think he can stop him if it opens up, if the opening presents itself, like where Golovkin's ready to go. You know what I mean? But a lot of triangle theories I'm seeing. Oh, you didn't stop Chavez Jr. None of that matters. Chavez Jr. is actually really tough too. And who knows how much he weighed on fight night, because he looked bigger than Canelo. But I think that was a good plan from Canelo's team to fight him. And like I said, even though he didn't put up much of a fight, they were still prepared to fight Chavez no matter what he did. And just fighting a guy who's bigger than Golovkin and himself bigger than Canelo, I think was a smart game plan. So we're going to find out September 16th. I really don't have anything else to say. I mean, may the best man win. I'm just looking forward to the fight. I will be in Vegas. It should be a good fight. Now, again, anybody could win. It's a pick'em fight. I'm just going off of my opinion, why I think what person would win. And I told you, I just think Canelo, just things I've seen. Daniel Jacobs was doing good in driving Golovkin back, but then he would let off the gas in certain spots. I think Canelo's temperament is not like that. He's not going to let off the gas if he gets him in that position. However, Canelo has to fight a damn smart fight, because if he doesn't, it's going to be a wrap for him. We all know Golovkin is strong, but ultimately one of the big deciding factors too for me picking Canelo is just overall skills pay the bills. Not to say Golovkin doesn't have skills, because he does, but I see a lot of his skills are offensive skills, right? Canelo to me has more overall well-rounded skills, including defense, right? So it's harder. The sweet science oftentimes prevails, not always, but oftentimes prevails. So when I see a guy who can slip punches, who's doing pull counters, and he's shooting counter uppercuts, he's going upstairs, he's like very creative with his punch. Golovkin's actually a good body puncher too, but I actually thought Golovkin was more of a combination, or not a combination, more of a counter puncher than what he is. And the other thing to me, and this is a big thing, this is a bonus reason, this is an 8th reason, and I should have put this on, but I had so many other reasons already, but we'll leave it as a bonus reason. Golovkin, when he's getting punched, I do not like how he responds to getting punched by guys with respectable punching power. He seems to completely freeze, and that's not a good thing with, like I said, Canelo's a Corvette. I don't know why he does it. Maybe because he knows his defense is not like pristine, so he's just trying to let you get off your shots, then he'll like pick up the pace. But I'm telling you, I don't see that as being a good thing. He seems to pause, he seems to freeze in the middle of the action. Watch the Kell Brook fight. Kell Brook, there's some times where he's trying to counter, but it's not like Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia was getting blitzed by Amir Khan, and Amir Khan was throwing fast ass combinations, and Danny Garcia was still trying. That's why his nose was bleeding and stuff, because he was still trying to counter. But Triple G, to me, from what I've seen, is he might counter if you're Daniel Gill and he doesn't respect your power. And I think from fights like that, I'm like, okay, Triple G's a very good counter puncher. But when I see him fight punchers, I don't really see that. I see him, like when he fought David Lemieux, he was just working behind the jab, which is smart. But all this whole Mexican style and stuff, why didn't you fight Mexican style versus David Lemieux? Because you knew you couldn't, and that, or it wouldn't make sense. That would give him the best shot to beat you. Things like that. Right. The Daniel Jacobs fight, I didn't really see him. All I really seen him doing was jabbing. Right. I mean, I think a hook knocked him down, but once Jacob got up and started fighting and started being aggressive, and to Golovkin's credit, he has a very good jab. Canelo's gonna have to figure out a way to get around that. But aside from that, that's the punch I seen him mostly throwing. You know what I mean? And I think Canelo has the head movement, and he has a good jab of his own and body work to counteract that. Because I think if you chop to the body, that's gonna make your opponent's activity level drop in general. But I think Canelo is the better counter puncher. And like I said, ultimately, when I see a guy who's exhibiting all these different tools, right? And the other guy, like majority of the people I've seen picking Golovkin, is really based on his strength. But like I said, oftentimes the sweet science prevails, where strength is good and strength might get you through it. But my thing is, the guy that's never been hurt, what if he gets hurt? The guy who is used to being the bully and having his way, and people fall and crumble, what happens if they get back up? Like Sergey Kovalev versus Andre Ward. Kovalev was not prepared for a guy who not only gets knocked down and hurt in the second round while he was fresh, but does that and then starts bringing the fight to him and shredding his body, raking his body, bringing the fight to him. Kovalev wasn't used to that, because usually guys are on bad legs or don't have the conditioning to keep going, so it's like the end is near. And I think Golovkin has that same style, that same bully style, where if you don't hurt Canelo badly, like Conor McGregor versus Floyd, right? And I know that's an MMA fighter, I'm just giving you multiple examples in the 7 reasons. But if Golovkin does not hurt Canelo badly or do something very impressive early that sets a tone or stop Canelo in those early rounds, I see as the fight wears on, it's going to favor the guy who does overall more. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? I'm picking Canelo. I could be wrong, because Golovkin's clearly strong enough to stop people. You know what I mean? But my thing is this: the sweet science usually prevails. So if you cannot do that, and it's round 6, what else are you gonna do? And he's starting to get into a rhythm. Everybody's power drops at that point. You know what I mean? Things start to flatten out a bit. Round 5, round 6, championship rounds. And if you haven't done anything major, because Canelo was defensively responsible in those early goings, then I just see frustration growing, and either Canelo's going to be hard to beat on the scorecards, or Canelo's confidence is going to grow and he's going to start picking you off. And that's just kind of what I see. So to me, just like I said with Conor McGregor, I told you Floyd would win via knockout in rounds 8 through 10, and it was rounds 10 that happened. Again, if Conor McGregor didn't, and I'm not comparing Golovkin, so you guys have to take some of these examples loosely. I'm not saying Golovkin is an MMA fighter crossing over to boxing, but I still feel there's some similarities there. If Conor didn't hurt Floyd early, what is he going to do with Floyd late? You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing with Golovkin. If he doesn't hurt Canelo early, and Canelo just is still ticking and hasn't been badly wounded, and it's round 6, 7, I just see Golovkin getting frustrated. Like I said, Golovkin's there to be hit, but ultimately we're going to see very shortly, September 16th, and I can't wait. But salute to both for making the fight happen. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to reading these comments. I'm probably going to get some popcorn, because I know some people are going to be like, oh, you don't know, and different things. But I'm rocking with Canelo. I think it's his time. He keeps saying me Etta. Obviously, he sparred Golovkin, so he knows what to expect. And like I said, from the initial sparring, I think Canelo's style has evolved a lot more than Golovkin. Golovkin is probably the same fighter that he has been. So I think if anybody could provide some surprises, it would be the more complete Canelo skill set. But he has to be very smart early, and if he can do that, I think he got this one. Other thing I noticed with Canelo's style, see, I'm just making this a long one. I'm having fun with this one. Another thing I noticed with Canelo's style is he does good if you bring the fight to him, if you're in his wheelhouse. The styles that give him the most problems are people who can be evasive, lateral movers, things like that. Lara and Mayweather. And like I said, Golovkin's there to be hit. So for me, I think this is a tough fight for both. I'm picking Canelo. I can see it split decision or a majority decision. I don't think it's easy work. I really think this could be a fight of halves, where Canelo, I can even see Canelo being hurt early, maybe even knocked down early, and he has to get up and show what he's really made of. But again, I think it's going to be a fight of halves, and that's what leads to the majority decision or a split decision, because some of those rounds early and stuff might be how you interpret it. But I think as the fight wears on, if Golovkin hasn't gotten Canelo out of there, his tools and overall skill set will show up. And it's going to be even worse if Golovkin hasn't badly hurt Canelo in the first 5 rounds. It's my opinion. Canelo wins majority decision or a split decision. 7 reasons. You guys know the originator. Drop your thoughts in the comments section. We will find out shortly, September 16th. Make sure you smash the like button as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button. And you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.